Namaste, Galactic family. Welcome back to the channel, Indigo Angel. Come on into this dimension and come on into a global gridwork update where today I'm going to be covering Greenland, the Crown Grid, and Abadan, Iran, SS10 in Guardian Lexicon, as much of this information is being channeled through Guardian Gridwork cosmology through the rehabilitation window of 2025 through 2044. And so this is a high level planetary intelligence breakdown through Guardian Gridwork lens, and it is an interpretive framework that reads through Earth's current events as reflections of deeper grid dynamics, the memory fields, and all of the collective timeline shifts that are occurring. And so there are several global flashpoints currently stirring in the grids, several main activation zones that I have charted on the map, such as you guys know I've been working on Venezuela, Abadan, Iran, Greenland, and New York City. But today I am going to cover Greenland and Abadan, Iran SS10 because they are two of the next global flashpoints, okay? And a flashpoint means that these are places where grid authority resides. These are hot zones. These are the hotbeds. These are where the collective consciousness and the geopolitical outcomes are being visibly rewritten. And it's where everything is accumulating, everything that is going to trigger the next event, okay, in terms of history for all of us is happening. So it's a very exciting time, and there's so much that's going on right now. With Iran specifically, they've been in a 14-day blackout that is still currently going, where no one can get media in, get media out, get information in or out, as their government is on the downfall as we speak, mosques burning down everywhere, and they don't want us to know that. Okay. And then you have Trump that is looking to annex Greenland, whether they like it or whether not, whether they're going to do it the easy way or whether they're going to do it the hard way. And so both of these lands are very significant. They're both holding locations that are pertinent to the evolution of humanity's future. And so we must break this down, and I know you can see why. So before I head over to the map and to look at Greenland, I just want to make sure that you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that notifications bell to continue to receive my messages, and put some love on that like button for me, you guys. As you know, that is what helps me out here on YouTube. And I also want to mention that I have been dropping a new style of content on my channel, and that is channeled healings and channeled integrations, channeled chakra clearings, you name it. And so if you haven't watched any of this content, please go back and watch this. It is really up to date with where the collective is in a lot of ways. And I just want to say thank you to all the gracious souls who have given me permission to share. Thank you so much. But this is my work outside of delivering these gridwork updates and giving you guys deep intel on current events and things like this. I do healing work. So if you would like to book a chakra clearing with me or get in and do some of this deeper level clearing, all of my links are down in the description. I have openings for the rest of January, and I can see you sooner rather than later. So you can book with me at IndigoAngel222.com. I also want to mention that my book is on pre-order now at a discounted rate, and that is the Guardian Alliance Gridwork and New Earth Prophecy. You definitely don't want to miss this opportunity to pre-order this book. It is a Guardian textbook. It's not even considered a book, I will tell you that much. It has everything in it that you need to know about gridwork from a beginner level all the way to expert level. And so, yes, it's very exciting, and now is the time to get this book. So all the links down in the description, and I look forward to working with you guys. So let's go over to the map. Greenland is so significant right now. It is Earth's northern crown temple. As you can see, Greenland is very northern. It is the most northern land. Okay, and you can see as I pull out on the map, you can see just by looking there that yes, like it is definitely the crown, right? It's the crown jewel. It is the most north, and there's nothing that goes more north than that, essentially. And it is considered a living crystalline continent that anchors the highest planetary frequencies on the surface of the planet. Yes. And you can see why it holds so much value because of this. And it exists to do three things. One, stabilize Earth's axial rotation, plays a huge role in that. Two, it is to protect the Aurora shields. Okay. And three, it is to preserve the original Christos Sophia planetary blueprint during times of magnetic instability, solar intensity, and collective consciousness upheaval. So, Greenland holds the planetary defense systems, the organic defense systems. So, when the world suddenly becomes obsessed with Greenland, which is what has happened, it feels new, right? It feels like something that's just coming up for the first time. But, this isn't the first time this is coming up. A lot of people have been laughing, when Trump was like publicly expressing interest in acquiring it. Like, where is this coming from? This feels like left field. And obviously the media is framing it as absurd and it's going against all international law and da 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 da. But on a deeper level, this really isn't about the real estate. This is about a crown node sovereignty war. Okay, this is about something that goes much deeper than the geopolitical phasing of everything. But there have been internal discussions within the US federal government about this. Trump isn't the first one to actually bring this up. It's been spoken about acquiring Greenland since 1867, 1910, 1946, 1955, 2019 was brought up by Trump in 2019 and 2025, and it has been advocated by American Secretaries of State William H. Seward, James F. Barnes, Truman. Truman was the president that also spoke about this. So this has been going on for some time that there's been a public discussion about purchasing the island of Greenland, which it's really not an island at all, right? It's a crown node authority. In geopolitical language, Greenland equals to early warning systems, satellite pathways, polar flight corridors, submarine routes, Arctic defense positioning. The reason that they're saying that the United States needs to acquire Greenland is ultimately because of national security, which Trump is trying to kind of really dominate the entire half of the globe. This is really about getting everybody in order with the United States from Greenland to Canada to Mexico to South America. That the United States presence is the ultimate authority of this entire side of the world. So this is huge, right? Greenland means so much in terms of not having what is considered the threat of China and the threat of Russia in our side of the world, right? To position themselves in a defense sense. As I said before, this is about guardian defense systems as well. This is about not just political defense systems, but spiritual defense systems. And I'm going to explain what those spiritual defense systems are because it's not just BS. It's not just, oh, she's just saying this, da 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 da. No, there is a particular movie that has just come out and it's called Greenland 2 Migration, where they talk about the Clark Crater and the Clark Crater being very significant to humanity's survival. Okay, the only place in the world that people can migrate to, where they can survive through the harmful radiation, where they can survive through what's to come when Earth unravels in terms of the next extinction levels events or cataclysmic events. So there's a lot to this in terms of humanity's defense system that like I said, goes deeply beyond the geopolitical sphere. So we're going to get into all of that and talk about all of that. These are the surface reflections of a deeper truth, and that is that the polar grid determines the stability of the entire planetary system. Trump's one way or another language has been publicly reported as part of his Greenland posture. Now, whether you love him or hate him, this is how I interpret the archetype. Trump represents a crown grid archetype, an empire instinct, right? Empires seek crown territory. They seek the head of the planet. This is what they're going for. This is very Achillean based, very Lyran based, and also very Stygnusian based. This really is not even aligned to the Orion Gate systems at all. This is aligned to the head of the eagle, the head of the bird, the head of the flight, the head of the intelligence. So, what has changed is not that Greenland became valuable. What has changed is that Earth's polar zones are becoming central again due to increasing aurora plasma dynamics, shifting climate corridors, and the strategic race for high altitude, high latitude dominance. This is significant for global transformation, global transition. So, in Guardian terms, this marks the transition from a resource-based world to a grid-based world. And this is the direction we have been going in for quite some time, hence the emergence of the power of grid work coming out and through the way it has been. And this becoming something that more and more people are starting to understand and understand. Nations are no longer entirely competing only for oil and gold or even the land. What they're competing for is orbital dominance, data pathways, polar positioning, electromagnetic control, organic and artificial. Greenland is the keystone. Greenland is the crown. Okay, Greenland. Oh my goodness. So let's go over to this slideshow that I have, the Northern Polar Access Vortex. We're going to talk about a lot of these significant locations in which are holding the energy power constructs. So one thing that we need to talk about when it comes to Greenland and Guardian Consciousness, planetary global Guardian Consciousness, this is that glaciers serve as monumental crystalline data archives of Earth's evolutionary journey. So when you think about the Akashic records and you think about that database, that data bank that we're all tapping into for information, for everything that we basically hold in the collective shared mind consciousness, that it's really held here in the mystic depth of the glaciers, which equals to frozen time. So, I mean, within that frozen time, what's encoded within the ice epochs are the polar shifts, a lot of the ancestral migrations that have occurred, what goes back to Lyra, what goes back to Hyperborea, what goes back to the original seedings on this earth. What's happened during different solar radiation cycles, the geomagnetic fluctuations. The glaciers are not merely this frozen water, they are the frozen time. Their molecular lattice acts as a multidimensional recorder. So when you enter proximity to glacial regions, Greenland, Antarctica, the Himalayas, Patagonia, you can experience spontaneous ancestral memory activations, cellular resonance, the release of long frozen trauma signatures. These responses are not only personal, but in gridwork terms, they can be collective emissions from Earth's frozen memory body. And many glaciers align with planetary dragon lines, the original Tiamat ley line bone structure. They act as crystalline coolant systems that stabilize energetic currents. So when planetary heating occurs, geophysically and spiritually, glaciers regulate vibrational output. Their melting cycles are not only climate phenomena in this framework, they are energetic releases, thawing karmic imprints stored in crystalline matrices. This is part of Earth's detox and reorganization as she births new Earth fields. So Greenland is 100% in alignment to the New Earth prophecy, to the Dove grid, and which is also Turtle Island, right? The head, the crown of Turtle Island. So Greenland node by node is what we're going to do, what we're going to talk about. The first node here is the North Polar Access Vortex Primary Crown Gate. Okay, and I have a few pictures here that define this. Okay, you can see the auroras here. Ooh, that one's so cool too. I love the polar bear. I've always loved polar bears. My whole life, it's been like one of those animals that I just, am in such awe over. At the apex of Greenland lies the North Polar Access Gate. So this functions as Earth's vertical alignment column. This is the planetary crown chakra where Earth interfaces with the solar logos, the galactic core, higher harmonic bandwidths. This gate regulates the spin of the planet, the flow of the aurora plasm. Okay, this is governed by this gate access point here. And the stability of the magnetosphere in this framework, it is an organic stargate that cannot be truly reversed because it is formed by the living geometry of Earth itself. This can't be like entirely hijacked by like the negative beings, right? This is highly, highly protected um, governance of the Earth, highly protected by the guardians. And through this axis, Christos Sophia light distributes into the global grid system, anchoring ascension into divine law. It actually happens here. This is what those northern lights are all about. So this is very, very significant to the birthing of the seventh root race, as well as this will be what anchors the Aurora host into the Earth. And that's the future Andromedan races that will come in. So, yes, all very, very significant to the New Earth prophecy. Now, the next one is the central ice sheet crystalline memory vault. Beneath Greenland's vast ice sheet lies one of Earth's primary crystalline memory vaults. This region is not frozen in death. It is suspended harmonic preservation. And within subglacial crystalline strata are planetary records from before the last cataclysms, including Lemurian records, Hyperborean records, and pre-Atlantean memory fields. These crystals store vibrational data that stabilizes Earth's morphogenetic field during polar shifts, solar events, collective consciousness, volatility, and the ice above functions as a natural radiation shield, a frequency filter, and it protects the memory library from interference, distortion, and artificial grid manipulation. So, yeah, this whole sheet to me, as you look at this picture, it almost feels like a protective layer, a protective consciousness. It feels like something that is, you know, it's like a lock and a key, right? It's like a natural radiation shield, a frequency filter, and it protects the memory library from interference, distortion, and artificial grid manipulation. I think this is very significant. Okay, the East Greenland Rift Gate System, which is along the eastern coastline of Greenland, where tectonic rifts meet deep fords, a powerful plasma inflow system that connects oceanic ley line currents into the Arctic grid. This is where mid-Atlantic ridge energy bends northward into the polar field. This region functions as a planetary pressure regulator. It allows access to geothermal density, emotional density, electromagnetic density, and to release safely into the polar vortex rather than destabilize the global field. This gate also links directly to Iceland's volcanic network, forming a northern fire-water balance that helps prevent crustal fracture. And you can see here pictures of this. And also here is just where it's showing some of the flow of these currents and where the gate system links in. So this is very significant. This is really where it opens up to the Hyperborean Gate, considered the Northwest Greenland Hyperborean Gate. This is what goes beyond the time distortions. This is what goes beyond the time wall. This is really what opens up like a magnetic vortice that takes you into hollow Earth. It's a magnetic vortice that also takes you into the outer worlds beyond the ice walls. So this was where the original migration occurred, like the original migration to Earth happened. This was the true polar memory remains intact um, in the surface of the planet. So this is still here, this Hyperborean gate. These are just some pictures of that unthawing. And then you have the Ilulissat cryoplasma release gate. So along the western coast where glaciers flow into the ocean, Ilulissat functions as an organic cryoplasma stargate. This is where stored emotional, karmic, and trauma energy held in planetary cryofields releases into Atlantic currents for transmutation, and massive glacial calving is not random in this view. It is a controlled planetary clearing process that allows Earth to purge density without violent rupture. This gate works in partnerships with the planetary heart field, the Atlantic grid, to restore emotional equilibrium to humanity and the biosphere. So it's a very significant portion of it here. Okay, and now if you actually look at the Ilulissat on the map, it's you can see how it's energetically working. Um, Let me go back to, here it is. Let's tune into the Ilulissat. So it's really these broken up chunks of water. Like it's really this condensed, which you can't see so well because there's a lot of portions of the satellite picture that are not showing, but it's these like broken up condensed structures of icebergs, I guess you could say. Um, And even if you go back here, and I mean, look at this really contains so much energy. It's connecting into the planetary heart fields, the Atlantic grid, the Atlantean grid. It does help Earth purge density with violent ruptures, and it works to restore emotional equilibrium. So, believe it or not, these floating bergs are, you know, here's the best picture of it. They are working on behalf of the greater energy flow. And it's very much a portal in Greenland itself. This is a very significant gateway here that condenses the emotional field. West Greenland anchors an atmospheric ley line system that channels solar wind, aurora plasma, cosmic radiation into Earth's electromagnetic field in a balanced way. This corridor connects to Greenland, to Canada, to Alaska, forming the northern arm of what you call the Swan Dove Planetary Light Bridge. It stabilizes weather systems, biosphere nervous system coherence, plasma load management during solar events. This is one of the main regulators of the Earth's aurora shield. West Greenland Aurora Wind Corridor. Whew, and even as I say that, I get chills just tapping into this. Feels like such a significant point that's just running through our body. We're all like streamlining consciousness to this as we speak. Yeah, regulating the wind patternings. Okay. Really channeling this solar wind and aurora plasma wind and cosmo radiation through the whole planet. It's balancing this for the whole Earth. So very significant. You can see why it's the crown, right? It's regulating so many systems that um, places like, the United States and South America aren't even really aware that these things are needing to be regulated, right? That the crown is doing this on the behalf of the lower chakra systems of the planet, the lower corridors of the earth. Now you have the subglacial inner earth interface. So this is where deep beneath Greenland's ice lies crystalline resonance chambers that interface directly with inner earth grid networks. In this framework, it's described as ordinary physical cities. They are harmonic temples, living crystal architectures that transmit information between surface civilizations. Inner Earth consciousness, hollow Earth, the magnetic vortex that opens to Hyperborea. These chambers hold functions such as DNA repair, frequency support, morphogenetic healing, blueprint continuity during surface chaos, and they maintain the link between surface humanity and Earth's living design. Very significant. This is kind of a look-see into the access points into the inner Earth on a different, you know, type of mapping system. And then you have New Earth Prophecy for real 2.0, the Clark Crater. The Guardian Sanctuary node of the New Earth. Clark Crater is encoded within Greenland's polar basin as a Genesis sanctuary field. This location is designed not for survivalism, but for planetary continuity when old systems collapse and new systems come online, where the central ice sheet preserves Earth's memory. Clark Crater preserves Earth's future. This site sits above a rare convergence of subglacial crystal chambers, magnetic null points, polar ley lines. It forms what your Guardian Alliance classification calls a zero distortion field. And within such a field, destructive radiation, electrical chaos, and plasma storms are not fought. They are neutralized through harmonic resonance. So this field does not block energy, it reorganizes energy into life-supporting coherence. In New Earth Prophecy, Clark Crater represents the first biosphere of post-collapse Earth where the Christos Sophia template can express without interference from artificial grids, weaponized frequencies, or inverted magnetics. It is not an evacuation point in the old world sense. It is like a seed chamber where the next iteration of ecosystems, human templates, and planetary intelligence stabilizes and is reborn. This is why Clark Crater appears as safe land archetype in prophecy narratives. It is safe because it embodies the frequency of Earth as it's becoming, where Greenland is the crown of Earth. Clark Crater is the heart of Earth's next world. So this is like a portal from 1D to 5D universe, and it links into the Hyperborean gate as well. So let that land where it may need to land. Go back and rewind and watch and learn about Clark Crater. But again, if you can, go and see the movie Greenland to Migration because it is exactly that. It is exactly people migrating to the crater. Here's another image of the crater if the ice was removed. Okay, and here's about where it's located in Greenland itself. And if we go back to the map, we can take a look at where that crater is located. It is up here. Now I'll zoom in, but I don't think we'll be able to see it all that well. It's covered with ice, but it's about there. Wow. Okay. So now let's go down to Iran as this is very significant. And I don't believe I charted any of the sites. So we're just going to put the Stargate on there to start with. Put a Stargate on Abadan, Iran on SS10. Okay, let's just focus on the area because there's a lot of information here. So there's a lot of verified current events that are taking place, that Iran's connectivity shutdown and protest condition is destabilizing more and more. Um, yeah, so, earlier in January, multiple outlets had reported that a lot of the Iranian internet and telecommunications completely shut down amid all of their widespread protest. And it's being described as it is isolating the country and it's limiting outside visibility. So they don't want us to know what's going on in Iran. They don't want us to have any clue or idea that, they're rising up against their government. Um, and they've been on a 14-day blackouts, and there's been widespread mosque arson. They're burning down the mosques. The Iranian people are done with Islam. Okay, they are done. Why I think this is so significant is that this is a primary planetary control corridor. We know that SS10 is that head of the Draconian Hive. Okay, it always has been since they relocated it from the Temple Mount. We know that this is the Draconian Hive region. And because of that, I mean, there's a lot of convergence points here that historically are very, very significant. We have the Mesopotamian grid arteries that flow in through here. We have the Caucasus corridors. We have the Indus and Aryan linked genetics, all of the Arabian ring vortices, and this makes Iran's landmass one of the most contested regions in your multi-epic cosmology human history, period, across the board. And so, Iran essentially anchors SS10. And through the quarantine window of 2025 to 2044, so over the next basically 20 years, this is going to be undergoing a massive control transfer. The control is transferring out of the draconian hive controllers and rulers, and it will be placed back in the hands of the Mary Magdalene bloodline. 20 years from now, there may be a female rulership in Iran. And I know that seems so crazy to even think that, but that is where potentially we might be heading. SS10 is described as a gate originally designed for Christos Sophia passage and stewardship of Middle Eastern collective consciousness. What exists there today is reversal governance, forced male hierarchy overlays, trauma-based priesthood controls, and Stargate occupation dynamics. And this is the War Peace interface node. So, according to our Guardian map here, SS10 governs four primary domains. One is the Middle Eastern collective consciousness. Two, war, peace, oscillation, templating. Three, bloodline and priesthood architectures. And four, prophecy control narratives. Who is allowed to define God, law, and truth? And it's a hijacked gate system, okay, people? It's a control gate. And control gates amplify authoritarian recursion, sectarian fragmentation, fear compliance, and identity warfare. And it is thick. So SS10 is entering rehabilitation. As it goes through this process, the region will not become quiet. We are going to see an uprising currently that we are seeing boots on the ground that is going to extend over the next 20 years. This is where this region has to become honest. Honesty is now what will activate truth because control architecture cannot remain stable under rising coherence. And that is what is happening. This is what those blackouts are all about. And so I just want to talk about some of the organic zones that would be awakening, right? We talk about why upheaval happens in certain areas. It's because sacred sites activate and they become solar administration nodes. They administrate and they govern the underlying energy necessary to anchor and rebuild royal solar law, not just divine laws. Well, that is divine law. Essentially, divine law is royal solar law. So it is destruction encoded symbolically the fall of solar stewardship governance, and the replacement of guardian kingship with conquest-based empire loops. This is why Persepolis remains loud on the grid. So let me put Persepolis in here. I'm not sure this is it entirely, but this area will become significant. So keep an eye out for Persepolis. Um, I haven't heard of anything there yet, so to speak, but this area will become a solar administrative node in Iran. Persepolis will activate to anchor a royal solar law. So, what I foresee is that somebody is going to come forward from Persepolis. It might be the new ruler, it might be who steps in to regovern or basically recorrect the governance there. But the replacement will be a guardian kingship that comes some sort of connection to Persepolis. There will be something very loud in the grids of Iran that will activate here. It holds the imprint of what governance looked like before it turned into control. And so it will be referenced. Okay. And I feel that really deep in my solar plexus and my sacral chakra as I say this. So I know that this is going to happen. This is going to be true. Keep an eye on Persepolis. Another thing I wanted to mention was Mount Damavand. Let me put this in here. This is very, very significant. Mount Damavand. Look, let's see where it's at, located to Persepolis. It's outside of Tehran. It's outside of Tehran where all of the blackouts are occurring. Okay, so wow, oh my gosh, feel how refreshing that note is there. Um, Now this, yes, this is a volcanic planetary pressure release valve. Okay. There might be some eruptions from this going into the future through the rehabilitation window. There might be, well, the 12D shield also is going to activate there as well. So it's going to stabilize tectonic and emotional density buildup associated with long-term Stargate misuse and abuse. This location is going to be really critical in framing the grid work here in Iran. It is a containment and purification pillar, and it holds the pressure that so that the land does not fracture. Okay. Otherwise, Iran might as well just like fracture in half type of thing. So this is holding it all together here. But I wouldn't be surprised again if there are some volcanic releases that activate here over the next 1 to 5 years. As things are changing in Iran, Trump might be, sending some messages to the Ayatollah. Things are popping off. You know, Trump is getting pretty ballsy these days with teaching the communist leaders lessons. You see what I'm saying? Okay, this here is an architectural site. So this is, let me zoom out really quick. Yeah, it's within our Draco hive. That's why that's there. Let me take the overlay off so we can see it better. So it's very close to the Stargate. Very significant. That's why. Let's tune in. A sacred site connected to a tree of life node. It's an interlink to the Stargate. It's designed to connect inner Earth hall systems. Surface priesthood lines and celestial oversight councils function through here. It predates patriarchal inversion, and it carries unbroken feminine cosmological codes beneath the overlays. So, this is a living archive. It's quiet, but it is intact, and it will be a part of the Stargate rehabilitation and control transfer in Iran. There are several other locations and nodes. I think what I'm going to have to do is probably tune in with Iran on a deeper dive. Just because there's so much to this. I feel like a lot of the picture's still unfolding, but this is kind of some of what I've gathered already. And I think this is important to touch on because we are going through a Stargate rehabilitation and control transfer of 2025 to 2044 through the quarantine window. Okay, you can learn about this in my book, The Guardian Alliance Gridwork and North Prophecy. I lay this all out for you guys so you understand exactly what it is I'm talking about. But I'm just going to read some of what I put in my central thesis in the book. So, during the quarantine window of 2025 to 2044, control is being transferred out of compromised Stargate interfaces. In the Guardian narrative, Stargates previously compromised by forced mail hierarchies are being transferred to Magdalene encoded command nodes. Primary Stargate interface authority is being held through the Royal Sapphire starship stationed above Kauai and the inner Earth halls of Amenti. The command is set that includes Temple Mount, Mount Hermon, Mount Carmel, Abadan, Iran SS10, Giza SS4, Dome Rock at Al Oxygate, and the Kaaba Ring Vortex. By the end of the 2044 prophecy, Middle Eastern consciousness is redefined. The Draconian Hive no longer holds command over SS10, and the transition begins with boots on the ground, meaning infrastructure shifts, geopolitical reshuffles, hence the blackouts currently, trade and resource alignment and exposure of hidden power networks emerge and reset themselves. And the world sees unrest, uprising, and blackout conflict risk dissolve. So the control systems are losing their energetic compliance. And that's what we're going to kind of see continue to play out. We're also going to see phase two activation cycles occur. Aurora races will begin to come forward. The oceanic dragon grid will begin to come forward, and the glacial body awakening will continue to unfold. So I'm going to anchor the Greenland segment into this phase template. Essentially, it's a part of what is unlocking. And again, a lot of this will be included in the book. So you can find that information there, you guys. So I'm going to close this update out just for now, but I wanted to give you a glimpse of everything that's coming forward. These are the next flashpoints, okay? Greenland and Iran. Keep an eye on the flashpoints. And the Arctic strategic competition and Greenland positioning, the Iran's crackdown dynamics and how information control shapes perception. It's all crown node pressure that's increasing at the poles. So, yes, this is a major transition, and Greenland is the crown. So, this is why the world feels so intense because Earth is essentially reorganizing itself around harmonic authority. This is what's coming through. Okay, guys, I love you all so much for tuning in with me today. Be sure to get that new book, the new drop. The pre-order is out, and I'd love to come work with you for chakra clearing. So take a look at my last couple of videos and content that had those chakra clearings in it. Stay grounded, stay sovereign. I'll see you guys on the next update.